Hi, I am Parker and this is my DSARI project. For some background context of my current residency, I live at the North Star Apartments in Dinkytown where my building was constructed in 2007. I also live with three roommates where our apartment is about 1,253 square feet in size, and the average apartment similar to mine uses about 1,100 kilowatt hours per month worth of energy. For some additional background context, we also are all proactive with saving energy, but we do have some appliances that use a significant amount of energy still. For estimating how our energy is used, I use the fact that my apartment uses central electric heating and also use data from the Minnesota Department of Commerce to estimate that about 34% goes into heating, ventilation, and cooling, 11% water heating, 8% our fridge, 21% our electronics plus appliances, 17% lighting, and about 9% miscellaneous energy sources. However, not all things require the same amount of energy to be used. So for example, as shown here, a water heater requires much more energy to be used than your air conditioning or your refrigerators and things like that. The appliances I chose to track for this project were a tower fan, a light bulb, a toaster, a TV, a heating pad, a PS5, a Govee desk lamp, and a mini fridge. The average energy for each of these are shown here as a fan is about 40 to 80 watts, light bulb is about 25 to 100 watts, toaster 800 to 1500, TV 50 to 200, heating pad 50 to 100, PS5 about 45 to 90 watts for streaming is what I use it mostly for now. Govee desk lamp about 5 to 9 watts, and mini fridge about 50 to 100 watts on average. For the tracking process, I use the Notes app in my phone where I input the amount of time I use each appliance every single day, where I could then average out the amount of time used on each appliance per day. These are the pictures of me tracking the energy source of each of my appliances. And here's my energy collection data, where my variable power device in this project was my mini fridge, and the other seven all ended up being constant power devices. You can see here that I have the hours per day on and the hours per day off, which could then be utilized to help calculate how much watts or energy is used per day or per month. The equations used for this were, first of all, for my variable power device or my mini fridge, the watt hours recorded divided by the time plugged in, multiplied by the time appliances used per day, which for my mini fridge, I leave in all day, so that's 24 hours. And that ends up requiring about 1,435.2 watt hours per day, as shown here. For constant power devices, I would multiply the watts on times the time on and add the watts off or phantom energy times the time off. For this, as an example, I chose my TV, which had a phantom energy of 2.2 watts, and it normally stays off for about 22.59 hours per day. So that ends up using a significant amount of energy. Lastly, for lights, it's simply the amount of watts your light bulb is times the hours per day, where my light bulb was a 40-watt light bulb. From this, I learned that most of my appliances fell into the average ranges that I found earlier, other than my fan was slightly lower, which I believe comes from it being possibly smaller than the average tower fan. I am also mostly surprised by just how much watts the toaster required, as I knew it required a lot as it's heating things, but 883 watts for a simple toaster seemed high to me. I also expected a higher wattage reading than 84.2 for my TV, but I overall am not too surprised by like the top four being my TV, PS5, fan, and mini fridge, and toaster. Sorry, not the top four, top five. Earlier on, I predicted the normal apartment similar to mine uses about 1,100 kilowatt hours per month worth of energy. And out of the appliances that I selected, they totaled for 65.4 kilowatt hours per month, or about 6% of my entire apartment's monthly estimated energy usage, which must mean that the appliances I chose are not the most significant contributors when compared to things like our actual fridge or our lighting or our heating, ventilation, and cooling. I believe that this is a fair representation or is accurate overall, as I estimated earlier that our electronics plus appliances made up about 21% of our total energy. And with me having three other roommates and some of these items being shared, I think 21% is very accurate to how much these appliances make up. Lastly, for things I could do to help reduce my energy usage, I wanted to especially look into my top three users. As first of all, my mini fridge, I would say I don't have things in it about 3 to 4 days a week. So I think if I just simply unplugged it then, which would reduce it to more like 12 hours per day on average that's plugged in, that could drastically decrease my total energy usage by nearly like 33% and drop my mini fridge usage from 43.056 kilowatt hours per month to 21.528. Next up, my fan is I normally leave it on for about 2 hours when I'm not in the room just from forgetting to turn it off. And I think if I just simply put it in, make it a habit to turn it off, that can save me about 2 hours per day or about 2 kilowatt hours per month worth of energy. Lastly, my TV is using about 2.2 watts in phantom energy and it stays off for about 22.59 hours. So if I instead just simply unplugged it during that time that it is off, I would save about 1.5 kilowatt hours per month, which may not be as significant as some of the others, but it is still definitely very worthwhile for the little effort. And these are my references. Thank you for listening.